Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation to bring you the post-game wrap-up from the Mech Votann matchup. Final score, Mech 79 to a Votann 51. Now, typically, Lane would be here with me. But at the end of our battle report, his microphone died. I guess it wasn't fully charged, or it just lost connection. But then when I went to go over our post-game, which we didn't notice the microphone was still off, I tried to mess with it, tried to regulate the volumes, but with me being on a microphone and him not on a microphone, it's a complete garbled mess. But looking through it and working on it, it did get me thinking about some stuff and some stuff that Lane and I discussed. So we're going to make this real fast video. Going to talk more so about the changes that I'm looking for in Mech, since next week I will be playing Necrons into the debuting new version of the Dev Watch. So we'll jump into it with the final score and the wrap-up and everything that went on with the game and some of the stuff Lane and I discussed. One of the things that Lane and I were talking about as far as this post-game goes, and the first thing I want to present is a question to everyone out there who does view this. What are the questions you have that you would like us to answer? And what I mean by that is, after you watch a battle report or one of our battle reports, what is something that you're curious from us, what you would like answered? And we're going to I want to try and get some good questions, maybe like 3 or 4 questions to keep the video short, that we can answer every single week and just go this, that, and the other. And an example is what I'm going to do right now, is how we discussed the Mech in that video that the audio is pretty broken. So the first question I would ask would be, have you subscribed to the channel already? Because if you haven't, please do, and turn on the bell for notifications to get notified on all the content we bring you here on the channel. Shameless plug, I know. Not real first question, but a question nonetheless. So real first question is, what went well? And the first thing Lane and I would say that went really well is the durability of the Skitarii. The list with the stealth, with a 5-up feel no pain for a command point on the Dragoons, just the general resilience, the invulns and everything that come up in it, really tough to take down. The Infiltrator's Battle Shock was actually super impressive, as that basically was the reason the Hearthguard were able to get taken out of the middle, by making them fail a Battle Shock and then not allowing them to get Void Armor on them, especially with the robots punching in, the Cataphrons. As far as for Lane and his Votann, things that went really well. He was doing some great nasty damage. Like anything that was coming in his path. Like, I was terrified of those Hearthguard. After so many of my units had went down, after I'd shot at them with my entire army and did like 1 wound. Okay, I didn't shoot in my entire army. I stopped after I put enough into them and said, this isn't going to happen. The units that I shot into them at that point were units that couldn't really shoot at much anything else of value or really make a dent in anything. So they shot at those Hearthguard and really didn't do anything at all there either. 1 wound was what I came out for the first volley going into them. So I was definitely very worried about those. And then over into lanes, what went well, the Hearthguard were just very, very mean, very nasty, just really strong. The ability for the bikes to pick up off the table allowed him to score some really awesome late game secondary points and being able to bounce around the table. So there was a lot of really cool interactions with those small units later into the game that still played a very valuable role in the overall scheme of things, for being able to score some of those secondaries they wouldn't have been able to. Granted, yes, it was a 51-point loss, but it was still some very unique situations those bikes were able to score points in because of their special rule, and simply having 1 or 2 bikes left alive at the end of the game really boosted that. So that was cool. Definitely something that went well. What did not go well? So the biggest thing for me is, I think the Skatros, and Lane agrees with this, is the Skatros are probably a dead pick. 65 points for a sniper, single sniper. Like, yes, I moved him out and got him overwatched because I wanted him to be in line of sight. And I really didn't think that Lane would have spent a command point to overwatch to take one of them out. But with me having Assassinate, that probably enticed him more so to take that guy out. And I didn't mind as much because I looked at it, I was like, okay, well, that's fine. Now I can move other things freely and not worry about this Overwatch. And I just lost the Skatros. On top of it, the one that did survive had a couple turns of shooting and didn't really do anything that impressive, didn't put any extra damage down. Now, I do still like the sniper rifles on all the squads because they're free, They're easy, and that's still a unique thing that if the sniper rifles happen to land home, I can really do a lot of damage to a character and possibly pull them out of the unit. In this game, I was able to hurt the Ironkin champion, or the Hearthkin champion, E-champ. E-champ is who it was. I'm sorry, the E-champ. And even though I didn't take him out, that still meant that when we got through all the Hearthguard, he was hurt. And one shot that went through was able to finish him off. So that's still unique and nice, and I do still like that play. Even if I'm not fully taking the character out, at least injuring them is very interesting. So, but now for what, but again, this is what went bad. The Scatros were really unimpressive. They just, when they shot, they hit a wall. The battle shock test thing was pretty cool, considering what I'd seen it do for the infiltrators. But all in all, at 65 points for those single model units, it feels like I would probably be better served with those points elsewhere. What did not go so well for Lane? His first turn. Big thing was first turn where he crashed up there and wasn't able to do a lot of damage. But later in the game, he was able to bring it back with the Hearthguard very nicely, and they were able to really push well. Where it was a strong moment was when I was able to pick them up by making them fail a leadership check. So that was something that went kind of south, was failing the morale and having the battle shock and not be able to have void armor on them. So I would say that was probably one of the bigger reasons. And in general, just not being able to fully, like, when you come off the judgment tokens, it really starts hurting that extra damage, especially when I'm stealth, and that -1 that really started definitely showing its face with some of the units going later into the game. So that's what kind of would be the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. There you go. No real super ugly. Everything kind of performed cleanly, like we had expected. The Thunderkin were still able to be a valid part of the game, even though they were not able, they didn't go into reserve and did not deep strike and didn't have all that extra momentum or move from like a Hecaton or something. They still got over to an objective, and with the mission being Sites of Power, they were still able to do a lot by having that character and protecting that character on the objective until they started getting hit and started getting punched and having 3 damage weapons, be able to start picking up the guys. I respected the Thunderkin by all means. So I was making sure that if I was giving them a target, I knew what I was giving them. And so that was a positive. That worked out well in that aspect, and nothing really seemed out of the realm. This AdMech army, first win with this, feeling pretty good off of it. So where is this going to go now? The next direction, and the last question that I really put forward to this is this ready for competitive play? Is this ready to go to a tournament? My answer is no. This is not ready for tournament yet. This is only the second test, and I still have more work to do with it. And with that, some of the things I have already considered, the biggest change that's going to be made to it is I'm dropping both of the Scatros and taking another Doomcrawler, except now I'm going to be switching the Doomcrawlers over because, happily enough, when I built these Doomcrawlers, I actually magnetized them. So their guns, the autocannon portion of it, can come off. So I converted one because I use the bits for other things, but I had a neutron laser, and now I'm going to take 2 Doomcrawlers with neutron lasers. I was very impressed with, Lane was very impressed with the durability that's still behind the Doomcrawlers. And granted, they hit on 4s, so it's a little less reliability. But for some odd reason, the neutron laser is blast. So in a scenario against something like Hearthguard, I can get 4 shots off that neutron laser just because of the blast, and each one of those that hits home does have a very solid chance of picking up a Hearthguard. For that same matter, we have, well, I mean, it would automatically pick up a Hearthguard because it's D6 plus 1 damage, but in other situations like Terminators or Custodies, having a weapon that can hit and remove an entire Custodian model from a unit is very nice. Even if it takes if I am in a turn where I can pour my entire army on, let's say, a squad of Wardens that's in the middle of the field, 5-man squad of Wardens with a feel no pain and all that jazz, and I can hit and kill 2 models, 1 per Doomcrawler. And again, because of the extra damage, the D6 plus 1 damage, be able to put enough damage on them that feel no pain doesn't matter. That's a win right there. Taking out 2 of those Custody Guard from that, or those Wardens, would be huge. And then I can just pour a bunch of shots into him, and fingers crossed, he starts rolling ones. So, and that's a situation that's really very, very real to think about. I haven't even started to think about the Necron game into this and stuff like that. Kind of some of it is with the what you call it, the Hypercrypt build, is that I can just swarm the table so fast that there's really nowhere to go, that it's like, oh, I could deploy 3 inches away. Okay, but there is nowhere that's 3 inches away because I can cover the whole board with scout moves and everything else, that it's like you're far back there. So armies that put a lot into reserve or play off reserves a lot, I can cover a lot of the board. Now, that's not to say that the Hypercrypt could then choose to just stay on the table and fight me back, but then a lot of the power of the Hypercrypt is already being siphoned away in those early hits, that it's like, okay, well, now you're losing turns that you could be just crushing me with deep striking units and picking up my backfield. So that's kind of my thoughts into those things like that with Hypercrypt. Custodes still does concern me. I look forward to getting that matchup and seeing where that lies for some of this. But yeah, biggest change, dropping the Scatros, going into the second Doomcrawler, the neutron laser. So I have some bigger anti-tank guns in there. I have a good amount of anti-infantry. I had the Icarus and Data Missile was originally what I had, and the issue I was running into, and I noticed a lot, was the Data Missile, or I'm sorry, not Data Missile, the Icarus Array being an autocannon, being -1 AP. A lot of times that -1 AP was just getting knocked away with cover or an Armor of Contempt buff, because I'm targeting a unit that I might be targeting with everything else. Even going into the bikes, which had fly, I wasn't hitting enough to actually make that matter. To have that fly wounding on twos really matter. I mean, it might have transpired to an extra wound here or there, but it wasn't really enough. The Daedalus missile only being strength 10 means that when I do shoot that at a vehicle, something sizable, something I want to put a lot of damage onto, I'm looking at 4s or even 5s to wound some of the tougher targets. Neutron laser, strength 16 with an AP4. Another thing, Daedalus missile was only AP2. So that AP4 really helps out. Not to mention the weapon is inherently heavy. So even if I do snap over into a different Doctrina, by this unit sitting still, I can hit on 3s, something that the Icarus Array and Daedalus missile did not give me. I would have to use the Doctrina to get that +1 for the heavy Doctrina. Now I have it initially. I have it just no matter what. And being able to also utilize that with the range and kind of position these things in a certain way, that's being able to hit on 3s with those will help me to be able to eliminate some of these tougher targets, or at least put threatening damage onto them to start to make my opponent react with stratagems, react and spend command points and do stuff like that to try to slow me down or slow down my damage, which then in turn can mean I can take everything else and redirect it. Oh, you spent your command points on Void Armor or Armor of Contempt, or you pop your 4-up Feel No Pain. Okay, cool. I'm not going to let you soak that up, so I'm going to go over here where you cannot do that now and just pour all the damage into that and do damage here. Yes, your center field unit may now be able to do some work to me, but okay, go punch a squad of Rangers. Okay, I'm going to lose a squad of Rangers here or there. I have enough stuff to be able to kind of block and shield that out. So when that happens, it's like, okay, well, now you have to deal with this and playing that MSU style. So a lot of wishful thinking. This is playing AdMech right now. There's a lot of wishes that I have, a lot of wishful thinking on a concept. But I feel very positive about this. I feel like this is going in the right direction. And especially with the style of the list and how many units and models I have, allows me to be able to play out of some bad matchups a little better because of the versatility of my army. I may get into a matchup where I'm not really able to do any damage, and this may be the Custodian matchup. But because I have so many objectives controlled 2 units and things like the Vanguard that can reduce objective control value, I might just be able to play an obnoxious game where I'm just creating an angry web of hornets and just swarming the board and making them have to swat every single one of them away to start scoring points, and then the game ends. So a lot of theories. I'm going to need a lot of table time with it. Like I said, right now we're switching over into the Scatros to the neutron laser Doom Crawlers, which I'm so happy I magnetized those things when I got them. Like, seriously, way years in the past, I've had these things for a very long time, and I thought, oh, I should magnetize these. And I don't magnetize a lot of my models. And this was one that I decided to magnetize. And then I was looking at the neutron laser and I'm like, I don't want to break these off. I don't want to buy more dune crawlers. I'm like, wait, you know what? I think I tried to magnetize these things. Went down and sure enough, 2 of them have magnets on them. So now 2 of them have neutron lasers. I just got to prime up and paint up and get those on there. Tough part is blending it to the way I painted at the time, but we'll figure it out. All right, guys. So that's the concept. That's the idea of what I want to do with some stuff with the channel, what I'm doing with the list. Give me some questions. What are questions that you guys would like us to answer and stuff like that? Very more broad and open-ended questions that we can answer on top of thoughts with what we're looking at for AdMech, thought as far as what Lane was doing with Votann with a very heavy infantry build, much more guns, much more guys, and what you guys think. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.